And it turns out we did some investigation and dug in, and it turns out that GM wired the sound to save a little bit of money. They wired the sound of the click, click, click through the speakers. All right, guys, welcome back to another video. This is probably the last video I'm going to do on my 2006 Pontiac Solstice, but I got to answer some questions that I've received and kind of want to just go over what I've done to the car to date. Those of you that don't have one of these cars, I still think you'll find it interesting because you uncover some interesting, weird things on older cars. Okay, so the first thing I did to the car was I took it in to get a touch screen to replace the head unit here. And some interesting things came out of that. I'm super happy with the install on this. And what I can tell you is I highly recommend you take it to somebody who does this for a living, because we got into some stuff here that kind of got wacky. And I'll tell you what that was. When we took out this unit and replaced it, it actually created a situation where I no longer had a click, 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 click on my signal light. And it turns out we did some investigation and dug in, and it turns out that GM wired the sound to save a little bit of money. They wired the sound of the click, click, click through the speakers of the radio system. So it was inherently tied to the radio that I took out. And then I no longer had a click, 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 click. So fortunately, these guys, and I'm going to put a link to everything that's relevant in here. If you're in the Bay Area, I'll put a link to the guys that worked on this car. They did a great job. They dug in, we did a research and found a aftermarket part that solves for that problem. And so I took it back in and they put it in. And now I have a click, 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 click. If you've seen the video with Shane driving it, you can hear it. Crazy, really crazy. I also took out the cigarette lighter that was in here and just replaced it with a USB-C connector so I could charge my iPhone. Really simple. With that unit, it's a Sony unit. I put in wireless Bluetooth and also a microphone that allows me to make calls and talk on the phone, and it works really, really good. With that unit, I also opted for the backup camera, and I'll tell you, I don't regret it. I thought, oh, do I need a backup camera with a car this small? Turns out, yeah, you do, especially with the blind spot, and it's super useful. I use it all the time, and it works really, really good. You throw it into reverse, even though it's a manual, and boom, I can see right out the back. When you do that much work on installing backup camera and all that stuff, you kind of have the battery on to check things, and it turned out the battery was weak, it was old, had to replace it. Well, lo and behold, that's a challenge in and of itself as well. If you look at ways to replace the battery in the Solstice, you got to take out the fender. You have to take off the front fender well and the fender and pull the battery out. You can also do it by pulling the tire off and dropping the battery through the fender well. It's goofy. It's goofy, I'm not going to lie, and a real pain in the butt. All right, so after all that, been enjoying the car, and one thing that bugged me is the dang headlights were pretty faded. They turn yellow. It's very common on these cars that if they, are driven outside, which they are, or sit in the sun a little bit, those headlights, they fade. They get pitted and they look bad. If you go online, you'll see all kinds of people looking for headlights. You can't find them. This car wasn't manufactured in great quantities, and trying to find nice new headlights, impossible. But I found some. Turns out, I know a guy down in the LA area, used to be a designer for GM, and he bought a 2009 GXP version of this car, which is the coupe. And as he was leaving his job, he happened to grab a couple of headlights that had come off of one of the the show cars, and they were just going to throw them out. And he goes, I'll take them. A couple of the cross braces on the right headlight, if you're facing out of the car, if you're looking at the car, the left, were broken. I guess they just weren't too careful when they pulled it out. But he's got a really good shop, and we just basically manufactured a brace and put it in there. But I've got 2 brand new headlights on this car, and it looks so good. I mean, it just made a huge difference. So whoever buys this car from me in the future, they're going to benefit off that one for sure, because you can't find new headlights for these cars at all. Next thing I did is I realized the car was a little lagging on power. So I just took it in to have a checkup, and turns out needed a valve body. So replace the valve body. You know, this thing only has 32,000 miles, but again, it's not always the miles, it's also the age of these things, and parts get old and tired and need to be replaced. So not a surprising one there, replace that. Last but not least, I will tell you, one of the common things is this has the goofiest cup holder on the passenger side, which is accessible from the driver's side, and it's meant to not support more than like a 12-ounce Coke can or a coffee cup or something like that. But they are super fragile and they break, almost like 100% failure rate. I ordered a new little part, a little plastic part, because somebody on eBay was actually like 3D printing them. It did not work. I totally surgically took it apart. You know, it took me about an hour to put it back together and get it popped back in. Garbage, pure garbage. But I found a guy that makes aluminum ones, and this thing is dope. I'm just going to show you right here. I will put a link in the description below. If you have a Solstice or even a Saturn Sky, you need to go to this guy's website and just pick one up. They're not super cheap, but man, it seems like it solves the problem once and for all. Super smart design, way cool. Highly recommend. So anyways, if you have any other questions, DM us. Again, I think, you know, one other small thing is these little mirrors that I put out to the side. I don't have, you know, blind sign monitoring or anything on these cars, of course, but they really help, and I would highly recommend that. So it's not really necessarily a mod, but it does help. But that's about it. That's what I've done to the car, and at this point, I'm just driving it and enjoying it, and that's what you're supposed to do. So hope everything's great in your world. You guys have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next one.